Welcome to The Passion Pod with your host, Chris Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the feature presentation.
Season 2, Episode 4.
Welcome back, friends, for our most groomed episode so far. Today we have a guest right in the thick of his first year of entrepreneurship in downtown Eau Claire, a cyclist, snowboarder, and mustache enthusiast. Once the repair manager at the late Eau Claire Bike and Sport, now the owner of the newest bike and snowboard shop in town, Stache Bike Adventure. Welcome, Nick Berry.
How's it going, man?
Dude, pretty good. If people want to follow and check in with what it is that you do, what's the best outlet for it? Is it Instagram or something? How do people follow you?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, we're both using those pretty strongly to kind of get the promotion out. We haven't really done much else besides that for advertisement.
Are you planning on doing more, or are you just going to stick with that stuff?
Mainly sticking with that stuff for now. We are looking at a little bit of just radio stuff in general, but other than that, kind of it's working pretty good with just the Facebook and Instagram.
Sure. Well, you're talking to the right person since I'm on the radio then.
Yeah.
Perfect. So what's the plug for Instagram? What's the handle?
Stache EC.
Perfect. And then your website too, you have one of those?
Yep, that's eauclairebike.com.
Okay, so your business is growing pretty quickly, like every shop kind of does, but I mean, it's only been a few months, right? When did you open exactly?
Oh, it's September 27th.
Okay, so, and we're recording this right now at the beginning of January, and you already doubled your square footage, basically.
I did. That kind of happened within the first 3 weeks. We realized we were not going to be good enough in the one room and ran through a wall.
Okay. So what do you see then? What's your vision, I guess, for what Stache is? Because so for my shop, I guess my vision is I'm the core skateboard shop in the area, and there isn't any, which is funny when I tell people I own the skateboard shop and they say, oh, which one? I'm like, what?
There's only
one. I don't, you know what I mean? There's only one. That's my shop. There are other bike shops in town, obviously. There's corporate ones and there's coffee ones and whatever. But what I guess is different about Stache? Why do people want to come here besides your mustache?
Besides the mustache? Well, there's a few other reasons, but that's a good one. I'm trying to just make it to be a shop that people come to and get excited about these kind of sports, biking, snowboarding, adventure in general. Just help people stay enthused and stay outside, something I'm really passionate about. Yeah, you talked a little bit off mic about how you're thinking about doing adventuring tours or something. I think that's cool because you look at marinas and stuff, right? And there's people that make a living up on Superior just taking people out fishing. Yeah. And then obviously there's hiking guys and all that type of stuff. But we have a lot more tourism than we used to in Eau Claire, and with Pinehurst and with Tower, and there's actually a lot of shit to do in Eau Claire. And it's funny because people always stay at the Oxbow, which is right next to both of us, and they walk up to my shop and they're like, oh, what should I do while I'm here? And I'm like, if I had the day off, yeah, I could
let's go bike around or something. There's so much cool shit in this town. So how are you going to make that happen? Is it going to be you personally? Are you going to hire employees for it? What's your vision for how that would work? Initially, it probably is going to be me to start with. We'll do just some micro tours where they're not big, long adventures, just 1 or 2 days, maybe some just tours right in town, just showing people our city and what Eau Claire has to offer. And then eventually I'd like to kind of find people that are focused on certain areas. My one friend is really good at bringing kids out bike packing, bringing them out in the woods and with all their gear on their bike and setting up camp, just teaching them how to camp off a bicycle. And he's actually kind of already talked to me a little about he'd like to be one of the first people to do that with kids. And I thought that was an awesome idea. Yeah, that's rad. So I guess bikes is primarily what this is, right? But going outdoors, what? So people ask me are you ever going to carry bikes? Are you ever going to carry scooters? Are you ever going to carry? And I'm like, nah, that's not really what I want to do with it. Yeah. You obviously already expanded on products, but where is it long-term product-wise? What are you trying to carry? Climbing stuff? Where are you at with that? Climbing stuff, I'm not entirely sure climbing gear, but it's not something I've necessarily ever gotten into. I've done some just free climbing kind of stuff, but I've never actually went through any training or anything like that. Primarily, I'm going to try to focus on bikes, snowboards, possibly just some normal hiking, not so much rock climbing. Maybe a little paddling in there too. Sure. Yeah, I think it's important when you own a local business like this, people go to you because they feel connection with you, like with the person, which is why it's so important that the business owner is there on location.
Yeah.
But that also makes it for industries like ours where if you're not passionate about that particular thing, now all of a sudden you're kind of fake and you're the same thing as like a Shields.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? What's the difference? And times change, in 5 years, all of a sudden, maybe you're super into snowshoeing and now that's something you want to sell, which is fine, whatever. But I think it's important to stick with like the things that you actually care about. Because if you think, like people ask me all the time, are you going to open more stores and hire a bunch more people and be like this big store or something at some point? It's like, well, even if I did expand, it's not like I would necessarily make more money anyways. Now I just have way more overhead, and now I have to pay all these employees and stuff that hopefully they're making enough money for the store that I can in turn pay them. A lot of times it's just like a lot more stress and headache when you expand. And I talked to James about it too, about like, you want to hire a bunch more people? And he's like, man, I mean, if the perfect person came along, then absolutely. But in general, like, kind of just makes it more stressful.
That is definitely a thing. It definitely makes it more stressful to having me or say you not be at your shop.
Yeah.
And letting someone else try to take the passion as what we do. It's hard that way.
It's hard to trust people with something like that because you're so personally invested. It's
It
not
is.
like when you're a manager at a store and it's like, there's numbers that have to like align. For me, it's like every time I'm gone, I know that kid could come in with his mom for his first ever board. And I'm not going to be a part of that experience. And I'm like, that's so important, like I want it to be perfect. So let's stick with biking. Let's talk mostly about biking because snowboarding, I'm still bitter. I got broke off super hard a few years ago and had to have my shoulder fully reconstructed. It sucked.
That's no good, man.
Yeah, snowboarding is tight though. I would do it if I was in Colorado or something. It's just the hills around here I get super bored with quickly. So let's stick with biking. What was the first bicycle that you had?
First bicycle I had, I don't know, it was a red Schwinn.
Sick. How old were you?
I was 4.
When did you take the training wheels off?
Probably 5-ish, I would say. I'm from Marquette, Michigan, and my
Really?
parents
I
are
spent
from.
a summer up in Marquette.
Yeah, my parents are from here in town, Eau Claire, and we would drive back to Eau Claire Cycle, which was on Water Street, because that's where they had bought all their bikes from when they were kids, and that's just all I ever knew my whole life was.
It's like a 6-hour drive though.
It was a 6-hour drive to come buy a bicycle.
Wild.
Yeah.
So you supported Terry for a long time, huh?
Long time.
Cool. Yeah, I spent a summer up in Marquette right after I graduated high school. I was kind of an asshole to my parents, just like super pig-headed, like I knew everything, and my dad kind of kicked me out of my house because I was a jackass, and of course I was too stubborn. I'm like, well, I don't need your help. And a buddy of mine had moved up there, so I went and slept on his couch and worked at a hot dog
Marquette's
stand.
a good place to go hang out for a summer.
It was really fun. Like fireworks were cool. They had a little skate park and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was tight. I still have friends up there. So that was your first bike. I took off my training wheels at 5 as well, but I never got super into biking. Like it took a long time. I didn't buy my first real bike until I think I bought it from you or Terry, but I bought it from Eau Claire Bike and Sport like 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember setting it all up for you with fenders and stuff on it, right?
Yeah. Well, because I came in and I told you I was going to bike across the state, and I'm like, I need you to check over like all my shit. And you're like, oh, all right, yeah, go for it. And then it was sick. So my bike didn't fuck up. So thanks for that.
Yeah,
I
no
appreciate
problem.
it. What was the first bike that you personally purchased then?
Schwinn Hydromatic. That one I definitely remember the name and everything.
What's special about that? I don't know anything about bikes.
That was a BMX bike, so 20-inch wheels, pegs, and so growing up in Michigan, I did a lot of biking just on my own. It wasn't until I moved to Eau Claire and met a couple dudes down the street and found BMX that I really found a passion for biking, and then kind of kept going down to bike and sport, and eventually worked up to buying my own bike, and it was something I'll never forget, and I wish I would have never got rid of that bike, but I did.
Sure.
I got a little bitter at biking for a while too, or biking. I guess you got bitter at snowboarding, but yeah, biking got me. I crashed really hard, separated my shoulder, and couldn't do anything for about 9 months, and didn't want to look at a bike for about 5 years.
Wow.
And then I bought a mountain bike, and the switch turned back on again.
Sure. Did you ever get back into BMX stuff? Because I'm assuming that crash was BMX, right?
That crash was BMX, and I never really got back into BMX.
Did you ride with any of those like north of 10 dudes?
No, I didn't.
No. Was that like after you or
Yep,
what?
that was a little bit after me.
How old are you?
I'm 36.
Okay, that's not too much then, because some of the dudes were around, I want to say around my age. I'm 29. Well, anyways, I had Eric Elstrand on the show.
Eric Elstrand, yeah, I
in,
definitely
season
watched
1.
him ride a little bit.
Yeah, coming up. So
Yeah.
when did the Pinehurst stuff kind of pop off?
I'd say think we're going on year 6 already of it kind of under new development, but within the last 2 years is when we've really kind of saw an uprise of people coming out there, and we brought in a company to redo some of the dirt jumps and just get it more friendly for kids and other stuff to kind of get used to playing in the dirt.
Sure. So you switched from BMX, and I guess looking around your shop right now, obviously you have the fat tires and stuff because there's snow everywhere. I can't believe people ride those in the winter anyways. It's kind of like mind-blowing. But you switched to mountain biking. Is that like primarily what your shop's about then? Or like what style of biking? Because there's obviously road racing. Like there's all kinds of shit.
Yeah, biking's a vast array of where you can take it. But I would say I am geared a little towards mountain biking just because what I'm most passionate about. And I think a lot of people in our town and surrounding area even know that already about me. So mountain biking in general is what we do, but I'm a wealth of knowledge in every aspect of biking that I've found so far. Sure. Some of the old bikes are kind of unique to themselves where you need a special touch with them, but
sure. You know, one thing, and maybe this is like totally off, but I think would actually be really helpful to you is you look at it's. I think it's really important. I'll preface and say I think it's really important to look at what other business owners are doing and see what works for them. And not everything works for everybody, right? Like some of the stuff that Volume 1 does, I would look stupid if I did it or whatever. But I do think it's important to like try to learn from others. Have you ever thought about doing workshops in your store?
Definitely.
Because Becca, I know, does a really good job with those. It's like builds the community with her, and it's, you know, it's like a networking thing and stuff like that. But I think that would be awesome in this space. You have a nice big open space. If you did one like in the spring and everyone pays whatever, $50 and we all do a tune up together or whatever for the season, meet a bunch of other bikers, like cost a little less than bringing it in to get it tuned up. And now they can learn how to do it themselves. And
yeah, no, that's something I've definitely kind of got on the back burner, trying to get it worked into the mix here. And spring is exactly the great time to do it.
Sure. What other things do you have in mind for, like, what do you want to do in Eau Claire community-wise with your store? Because local shops, like, honestly don't exist unless they're
tied in with the community.
You have to be. Yeah.
Just getting people out, and I'm going to try to set up some demos of my own within biking and actually doing some snowboard demos. I don't know if it's going to happen quite this year with the snowboard stuff, but we're in the works as far as getting a bike demo set up right away in the spring. Just showcasing what can be done with bikes nowadays and where you can go. And
so you're going to sign autographs and like do all the bar spins with mountain bikes?
I don't get into bar spins, but I can do some pretty good airs.
Cool. I think it would be sick. Yeah. I mean, if you had some stuff over at Pinehurst, you know what I mean? People have brought it up with me with like snowboarding a lot of times. And I'm like, man, you know, and I snowboarded for a lot of years. Like I know how to snowboard just fine. And it is fun, but we don't have a good park here. If we had a park, like in Pinehurst, I'm not trying to take away from like a free park because it's a free park. That's tight. But because it doesn't have a lift, it doesn't have like a tow rope, it's kind of hard to build much of a scene.
It is. And it's definitely been a challenge from where I'm kind of part of the outdoor.more thing within Pinehurst there. And it's been a challenge to get the scene where we want it over there, where people are enthused to go over to the park and stuff like that. And I guess we're just trying to figure out how to get that really ramped up.
I would say it is up to people like us to make it happen. As unfortunate it is to like take all of that burden. In industries like that, it's kids that benefit the most and it's kids that are going to use it, but you can't expect kids to like
do it.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. But, you know, if you think about it like, okay, what happened when I was a kid, when I was growing up doing these types of things, skating and snowboarding and stuff, those things were there, but I didn't build them. Like somebody else built them and I got to use them for free, you know? So now that we're the older generation that's mature, responsible to a certain degree and are able to do those things, like it's kind of up to us. But I would extend that, like, it's not totally up to the business owner. I like to try to preach that to anybody. Like, dude, if you're over the age of, say, 21, it's time to give back a little bit. Like, if you've gotten that many years out of that industry and that much love and joy, it's kind of your responsibility to now step up and help make the scene better for all the other kids in the area. And you're only going to benefit anyways.
Yeah, you know? I found something really special to me out at Pinehurst within the last 2 years. I kind of was the lead on designing a actual downhill jump line there. And within building it, the other people that are kind of within the organization thought I was crazy and I was going to be the only person riding this trail. Well, over this summer, we had multiple groups of kids that I was teaching how to ride this trail. And what that brought to me was almost more than what biking in general brought to me. Just seeing kids get out there and enjoy something that brings me joy, and now they're learning how to do it as well. I think it's something really awesome.
It's just that like natural parental instinct.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Even if you do it with your friend, like if you convince your friend, like, dude, for years and years and years, forever, every time someone brings up, I want a skateboard, I'm like, dude, buy one. Like, I can't wait to go teach you how to drop in and do this, that, whatever. It's just, I don't know. It's like exhilarating. It's almost more fun to see somebody learn something than it is for yourself, especially as you get older, I think, because like you recognize where you're at on your trajectory and you're like, I may have peaked, you know, I may be kind of where I'm going to get with it. It's still fun and it's exciting, but I'm probably not going to like get a whole lot better at this necessarily. But when you see somebody just starting and you can remember like all the cool feelings it was through this whole process, you're like, I can't wait till they hit their first jump. I can't wait till they're able to complete their first whatever, because you're going to see that excitement in their eyes and you're like, they're discovering this world that has been so much of my life. I can't wait to share that with people. That's
exactly it, man. It's just showing people what is really out there and what can be discovered.
Well, we got to get people motivated to go out and build more shit. And in general, take ownership of your community. It is up to you if you want your community to be cool. It's not just going to be cool for you unless you're 12, you know, then hopefully there's people doing it. But for us, if we want a new skate park built, for me, dude, like I'm not going to skate it as much as the younger kids, but it's up to me. Like I have to try to help with that shit. So Nick, you got a great mustache. Whose mustache is your favorite?
Oh.
I got to ask mustache questions because your store's named Stache.
It's a Mexican conquistador called Pancho Villa.
Okay, I'm going to Google it. I thought you were just going to pick the Nick Offerman, like classic one everyone picks. What's the longest bike ride you've ever done? Like what biggest trip?
From here to Rhinelander, Eau Claire to Rhinelander.
That is a bit of a ways because that's up on the way to Marquette, right?
Yep.
Yeah. How many miles is that?
Believe it is right around the 180 to 200 mile range. We got it done in a day, which was...
You did that in a day?
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's gnarly. The Bike Across Wisconsin thing, it's called Ride Across Wisconsin. I'm sure you know about it. But people do it from Dubuque, Iowa to Kenosha.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. So that's what I did. Me and my wife did it. But we took 4 days. And we stayed at hotels every night with hot tubs.
That's way more enjoyable than what I did.
It was nice. I can't imagine. The first day we ended up doing like 75 miles and I didn't train for it. And I was fucked, dude. My knees hurt so bad. It was rough. Okay. So in Eau Claire, a lot of the different shops are kind of known for like specific events and stuff that they do. You know, Volume 1 does like every event, but a lot of people kind of have their own thing. So as an example, it'd be like Oxbow does the pre-Eau Claire's like show in front. They shut down the street and they throw that event. If money wasn't an issue, like long term, we have to have some kind of event that is yours, that people know about, that come from however, you know, many distances away for Stache in the event that you throw. What's the event?
I'm trying to set up an enduro style series of mountain bike racing, which is you're timed on going downhill and then that's it. And you just add 3 or 4 tracks all in the one day and your total time is the winner.
Tight. So you had this like way thought out. How come you haven't done anything with it yet? Because you guys have like one course that people time themselves at Pinehurst already, right?
Yep. Being I started the shop just in September, it was kind of the end of that type of season.
Sure.
So we're trying to get it set up so by like June of next year, the series kind of starts and we hold one race a month until September. It should work out pretty well that way.
So you are going to do races for sure once the spring hits.
Yep.
Tight. I look forward to that. So a lot of people, I think, support local shops. I mean, for a lot of different reasons, but I feel like it's a lot of times because they feel an attachment to like the owner, to the shop. It's like when people say like, that's my bar, you know, like it's not your bar, but like there's that attachment. And I think that's what keeps shops around is there's that community that's built behind it. And we're friends with all the clientele and even whatever. A lot of times I think like the clientele really wants you to succeed or they really want me to succeed or James or any, like they want us to succeed. But because they're not like directly involved, I don't think they really know how they can help that much. You know what I'm saying? Like they want to, but they're not fully aware. So if you like could give a little bit, like couple tidbits out to like homies listening, what are some things that are relatively easy for them to do if they wanted to try to really support or promote or whatever for the shop?
Just share our content, stuff like that, and kind of just getting the word out there that I'm here, really.
Sure. Yeah, I feel like people think that like making a purchase is the biggest deal, and that's not.
It's not at all.
No, it isn't. And obviously, like everyone knows, you vote with your dollars. If you spend money here, that's what makes it stick around. Sure, but honestly, like I would much rather see a well thought out written review on Google than have somebody come in and spend $50.
Yeah, me too.
Is
the review goes a lot farther than someone coming in and spending $50.
So much further, but people I feel like don't realize it. So yeah, stuff like that, or like if they just want to be the coolest person and take a photo of themselves inside the shop, you know, like at my store, take a photo of it and then put it on their social media outlet. Like a lot of these people don't really think about it, but it's like, dude, you basically just like gave me 500 view advertisement.
Yeah.
Like that I didn't pay for. That's worth so much more than that $50 purchase. Not that I don't need the purchase, but like those types of things are really awkward and uncomfortable for people like me and you to try to ask our clientele for. So we don't really do it, but I guess I'll just throw it out there for anybody that's listening. It would actually make a huge difference if like you came to Stache and you're like, they have sick bikes here. And then you took a pose picture on top of one of them and posted like, I like this shop. That it actually works really, really well and is super beneficial to us.
It does. I had a girl, I waxed her snowboard. She was in a hurry when she dropped it off. Then she picked it up and she actually was looking around the shop and she couldn't believe she just loved it in here. And she asked me if I would take a picture with her. Yeah. And I was blown away kind of that she wanted that. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. She could have bought a $2,000 bike. That picture was worth more to me than that.
Yeah, it's those experiences, dude. I brought that up on a different episode. It's like really strange the first few times that happens, you know, because to you, like they're buying a product and you really like them for choosing you, but it seems odd that they would want you in the photo.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, like on the other, like end of the spectrum, right? Like when you're a kid and you get your first bike or something, like that moment is really special because they don't buy them all that often.
Yep.
For you sell them all the time. So it's a little bit different. Not that you don't care, but it is different. But I agree. I said it on the podcast before, one of my favorite things is when we're done, like building this skateboard for this kid, like exactly the way we want, put the stickers on, like show him how to do everything. And at the end, when like his mom's like, can we take a picture together? And like I said, the first couple times I was like, yeah, you know, but I get it now, and it's really cool. Like the fact that you made an emotional connection with those people, like they cared that they bought it from you specifically. That's like one of those things that makes it worth doing in the first place. It shows why you like work for yourself, why you're choosing to do this rather than just like pencil pushing at a different job or whatever.
100%.
I think that to be successful in owning a business or in a lot of things really is you kind of have to play to your strengths. Like that's really important. Use the appropriate tool for the job. That's, you know, when I was in management and stuff, that was something I preached to the people underneath me of like, if you're not great at a particular thing, but somebody else on your team is, have them do it and then do something for them that you're good at. We'll be much more successful if we play to our strengths. That's how it works. Don't have, well, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Don't have your linebacker be your quarterback. Right?
Exactly.
So when you do work for yourself, you have to play like jack of all trades. You kind of have to do everything. You
Definitely
know?
do.
But like I said, it's best if you just play to your strengths and then collaborate with other people for like the things that maybe you're not as good at. Find somebody that is great at it and say, hey, I'll take care of this thing for you while you take care of this thing for me. That's why a lot of small business owners do trades and stuff. Like it's pretty often that we do that type of thing. What are some of the things that you're not particularly fond of or good at with your shop so far that you could use help with?
One thing so far is it takes me forever to actually write a post on Facebook. It's quite a process. So until opening the shop, I had never actually even had a social media account of any sort. So it's been a fast learning curve. And it's a necessary one. So that has been something, it's probably been the major struggle for me is actually managing the social media side of things.
Dude, it's a really big one in today's world, specifically with this like age group of clientele. You know, you're talking about teenagers, 20 somethings, and yours is wider age group than mine, but still it's primarily younger people. Social media has been a part of their lives since they were kids.
All they know.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's for me and you, I'm younger than you, but still Facebook wasn't prevalent until I was in college. So I didn't associate with it. It never meant all that much to me on a personal level. I just see it as like a business tool. And I always like had a big problem with it because I felt it was really ingenuine, you know, and like people ask me, why don't I sell more online? And I'm like, well, I could, but that's not why I'm there. I want to have that one-on-one experience. I don't really want
create
to
the
box
connection
this
with somebody.
Yeah. So like I sell stuff online, but it's pretty much just to homies that like come do the shop and they've moved away and they still want to support me. And that's cool. But otherwise, like it just seems ingenuine to me. But I got to like flip my brain around a little bit the way that I think about social media and recognize like if I was a kid and like I used to go to Underloud, that was a skate shop back in the day.
I know it.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So
I was good friends with Julian.
Julian Twin. So I used to hang out down there with him, and Anthony Capadona was there usually when I was there. But I just thought they were the coolest fucking people. Like if they asked me to go pick up their Thai food, I was like, well, yeah, I'll go get you Thai food. Like you just look up to these people and you want to connect with them. And as role models in our community, this is now kind of a cool tool, dude. Like when a kid tags me in he learns how to do a rock to fakie or something, some basic trick or kickflip or whatever, learns how to do that and then tags me on Instagram. I can like put myself in his mind and realize that like this is kind of really cool to him if I actually respond.
Yeah.
You know, like now the kids need to understand, like, please don't DM me at every given point in time of the day. Like I have a family and other stuff going on, but it gives us that kind of cool opportunity to be involved and like, you know, make their experience a whole lot cooler than it otherwise would have been. And those are the things that end up generating sales long-term anyways. Like it's those interactions. It's not like strictly your follower count and stuff like that. Like it's being active in those things. And it is a difficult challenge, I think, for pretty much everybody, you know, especially us people who didn't grow up using it constantly.
Yeah. It definitely was not part of my life at all until now.
There's a reason people like do social media exclusively for a living. Like that's all they do is run people's social medias. It's the new form of marketing and advertisement. But social media, like it's much more important to have a large social media following than it is to like pay for billboards at this point.
Yeah, the word of mouth advertising now is social media.
But that's what I was saying with the social media or like Google reviews and stuff, because that is word of mouth. Now all of a sudden it's not you telling somebody that it's cool. When I'm asked to like sell, if I want to do ad space, that's one thing that's tough for me because I don't want to pay for somebody to say that my shop's cool. Like it just kind of the idea and thought of that, I'm like, I just don't like that. It doesn't sit well with me. I know it's normal, but I just don't really like it. But if somebody else is promoting me because they like the shop, that's like the best one. And when they post it on their social media or write a Google review, you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands of people that now see that word of mouth rather than that like just 5 people they talked to at the coffee shop afterwards or whatever.
Yep. And I've definitely saw that as how it works. It is now the new age word of mouth is just getting it out there online.
Yeah. I try to ask everybody when they come into the shop if I don't recognize them. Well, first, like being in sales, and I'm sure you're well aware, somebody comes in, it's always best to introduce yourself, greet them, and thank them for coming in, right? That's just the respectful thing to do. They took the time out of their day to visit your store.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to come here. My name's Chris, whatever. Well, usually if I don't recognize them, I ask them, how did they hear about my store? Because I'm really interested to know. And 99% of the time, it's either somebody at the skate park, somebody they went to school with, or they Googled Eau Claire skateboard shop and mine popped up. Like, yeah, your reviews were good. Like, dude, sick. I mean, it's a bummer that you had, like, the internet has to be the reason that you found out, but hey, at least like you found out. So let's stick with positive stuff because social media does kind of suck from time to time.
It does a little bit.
Yeah, it's a bummer when you have to do it. But it's a bummer when you see somebody with a bunch of followers and you're like, my thing is cooler than yours. You just spend more time on your social media. So when did you first grow a mustache?
4.5 years ago.
Holy shit. And you decided to name your store Stache after only that amount of time.
Yeah.
You realize you have to keep a mustache now, like curly the way you have it, like forever.
Yeah, my wife wasn't super thrilled about that, but it was her kind of idea with the Stache as the name, so she must be all right with it in the long run.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tell me the story behind it then, because people always ask me like, "Why is your shop named Passion?" And it's like extremely self-explanatory. You know, it's hard. I'll give you like the credit here. It is super hard to come up with a name for a business because you know that's going to like represent you forever, which is.
Well, and that was actually part of the Stache. I wanted it to really represent me, and I wanted to be the name almost, I guess.
Yeah. People
kind of just, I don't know where I'm going with that one, but.
Well, it's important. Another thing that's really important is having your logo be recognizable. Like instantly recognizable. And it doesn't have to be the coolest logo that you've ever seen, but you have to recognize what it is. Look at like Adidas. Like it's 3 fucking lines. It's not that cool, but you know what it is.
Exactly what it is. Yeah.
Right. So with yours, shit, yeah, someone drives down the street and they're going to see a big metal mustache hanging from the store. They're going to think it's a barber shop, but it's recognizable and they'll know what it is for sure. And anytime you like put a sticker out, anyone who's seen it, they know what it is. They don't have to get close to figure out what it is, which we should do some collaborations with that.
We definitely should do some collaborations.
Did you see the stickers on my face that people made?
Oh, no.
Okay, so this is kind of a funny story. So I painted this like pot, like I've been painting a lot, right? So I painted this snake on this pot and I posted on Instagram, like, anyone want to buy this? And one of my friends right away hit me up and he's like, yeah, I want it. Well, like 5 minutes later, somebody else hit me up and they're like, hey, like, you still have that? I'm like, no, sorry, dog. It's gone. He's like, bummer. I really wanted it. I'm like, well, I could just paint another one. So I looked at his Instagram page, and he's a graphic designer and does portraits. And I was like, those things are cool. So I DM'd him, and I'm like, yo, you want to make a portrait of me in exchange for like a pot? I'll paint you one. Like, not thinking much of it, just like, that'd be cool. Like, do a little trade. He's like, yeah. I'm like, sick. You're more excited than you should be. But so I painted this pot, and whatever, like a couple days later, he comes in and he shows me this portrait he made of me. And I'm like, that's fucking cool. Like, I wouldn't have gone out looking like I need someone to do a portrait of me. But the fact that it happened, I'm like, this thing's kind of sick. And I showed James. And James was like, dude, you got to send that file to me. You got to do that. I'm like, okay, sure. And then, yeah, we like without really meaning to, all of a sudden I had a bunch of stickers in my face now. And I'm like, what the f- just happened? I swear to God, I'm not that into myself that I'm like, people want my face on things, but it just happened. Well, they're like the perfect size for all those walk your wheel signs downtown.
Oh, yeah.
That you could just put my face over the stick figure head, and it looks so funny. And up and down Barstow Street, there's like 4 or 5 of them. It's so
and now that you say that, I feel like I may have seen one out there.
Yeah, they totally exist. So now the podcast ones I did of the skull logo, I purposely did that size so that way I could put them on those things everywhere. Yeah. So moving forward in general, right, we need to collaborate, because people have asked me like, oh, are you worried about like him taking over business and stuff? And I'm like, no, Nick's fucking smart. He's not stupid. I'm the skateboard shop. He's the bicycle shop. And both of us know where our territories lie, and we can work together. There's no point in trying to like compete with each other. If all of a sudden I carried 5 bicycles, I would look stupid. Same way if you carried 4 skateboards, you look stupid.
I have people come in here, because at where I worked at Bike and Sport, we did carry skateboards. Mm-hmm. And people come in here, are you going to get skateboards? And I say, no, there's an awesome skateboard shop 2 blocks down the road. His name's Chris. You should go see him. Yeah,
it just makes more sense for us to work together on those things. It just doesn't. We're not a Shields. We're not looking to expand to all the different sports. Like, we're passionate about the things we're passionate about, and it makes a lot more sense to collaborate and work together, because the more successful my skateboard shop is, the more successful your bike shop most likely will be, and vice versa. So, dude,
I think collaboration is key, especially in the small business world.
Yep. So I think we need to do, at the very least for when your episode is going to come out, we need to do the skull logo with a mustache on it and do like stickers of those. That would be,
we might know a guy.
Super sick to do that. But yeah, we gotta try to figure out ways to collaborate with that stuff. So you alluded to it, obviously, like taking photos and stuff with kids in your store and seeing the kids like learning about the biking and shit, like over the things that you built. But I like to ask on every episode, if you can like think about it, what's an experience that you got to have and you're really thankful that it did happen to you, but it only happened because you chose to pursue your passions?
I guess it would be going down and meeting Wyatt from Wyatt Bicycles was an experience that I'll remember forever, because working in the bike world, it's not very often you get to meet the guy that designs the bikes, builds the bikes, and see how everything is done before it's a bicycle. That was something that I think so far was something that was a standout moment in the short 3 months that I've been here.
That's the one that's 90 miles away or something?
Yep, 90 miles away the bikes are made.
And what kind of bikes are those? Tell me a little bit about it, because you got to fill me in here.
They are a fat bike he primarily does, so a winter bike, and he does do a hardtail mountain bike as well. And he started a project in college and sent his ideas to a few people, and they kind of said, you might have something here, man. And he just went with it, and is making handmade bikes in the United States, which is a rare thing nowadays.
You know, it's funny. I talk about it with like my wife, and she doesn't get it, but when you're really passionate about a specific industry, the celebrities and superstars in your mind aren't like the normal celebrities and superstars, right? Yeah. It's people like that where you meet them, and like the average person when they go get a coffee doesn't recognize them or know anything about them. But for you, like for me, when I meet like a pro skateboarder, I'm like, holy shit, like specific ones especially. I'm like, dude, you are a rock star to me. The fact that I'm like hanging out with you, like when I did the episode with Eric, I think we were at Urban Roots, that like little indoor park that was around for a minute. And we were there, and somebody was like, yeah, that's Eric Elstrand. And I didn't know him at the time. I was like, oh, okay. Like, he bikes and stuff. And he was ripping, obviously. And I was like, what up, Eric? I'm Chris. And I just like introduced myself. And he's like, yeah, you're the dude who owns the skateboard shop, right? I'm like, yes, I am. And so we kicked it like at the park for a while.
Yeah.
And he was in town. And afterwards I was like, yeah, you want to like, we should both for a while. Like, it'd be cool. Let's kick it if you're not busy. And he was like, yeah, I'm free. So he came over to my old house, and we just sat and like drank beer and talked about Europe for like 3 hours. It was like super sick. And I'm like, dude, you're like filming for X Games. Like, How's that happen? That's so gnarly. You know what I mean? Super, super sick, though, that like when you get to meet people like that. And I've told stories about that on the show before.
Yeah, there's another pretty unique experience I got to have, I guess, within creating the shop here. And there's a guy I kind of mentioned you off mic about, Skip Kintardi.
Yeah.
So he was a professional snowboarder for Burton for 14 years. And as I was a little kid, I got to see this guy here, and he's from Eau Claire. And we got to watch him kind of progress into a pro snowboarder. But our age gap was so different back then that there was no way we were ever going to really connect. When I opened the store, he came in here and bought the very first snowboard that I had. He was the first sale. And the board happened to be called the Hometown Hero. And that was just a really special moment for me, that this guy that I idolized growing up came down and bought my first snowboard, or the first snowboard sale was to him. That was a really unique one for me.
Dude, it's just like so, man, I don't know. It's a really strong feeling you get, like that you can see that these people that you look up to respect what you're doing. Like it's just one of those moments where it's like, okay, this is worth all this hard work. Like I don't know. It's awesome. That happened with me with Steve Nesser from the Cities. He was a pro skateboarder for Birdhouse, Tony Hawk's company, for a long time. And he drove over to the shop and just like kicked it for an hour just to like say what's up and say this is a cool shop. Like, do what you
Skip
do.
took the day off of work to come down here.
Yeah.
And it was just like who does that? It's kind of crazy. And
it's rad when that you like get that mutual respect from somebody that you've respected for so long.
Yeah.
When you get that recognition. It's like, oh my God, like it's so important. You feel like you made it. You know what I mean? It's that type of moment.
Yeah, he was more honored to buy the snowboard for me than I was to sell it to him, which made me feel like I never felt before, really.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's just that like recognition thing that's like, it's just different, you know, because it's not a financial recognition. It's not you did great at your job. It's like, I care what you're doing with your life type recognition, which is like super cool. So my experience is strangely like, and I skateboard primarily. Longboarding's tight. I don't have a problem with longboarding. And this one is like doing that. So my experience was I had this idea right before I was going to Hawaii. I was like, we should do like a march for the skate park. Why haven't we done something like that? We should do something like that. So I hit up a couple friends and I'm like, you guys want to do a marathon on skateboards? You want to like ride skateboards and ask our friends and family to give us like whatever, $1 a mile or whatever, and just like do that? It'd be fun. And everyone I brought it up to was like, yeah, I want to do that. Yeah, I want to do that. Well, in like 10 days, I ended up organizing, I don't know, it was a couple dozen people ended up wanting to do it. And we all like had people sign up. We ended up raising like $5,000 doing it, which was nuts. By far the most we've raised at a single fundraiser with the least amount of people or setup. Like that's the way to go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, dude, we on longboards, because I was like, I need to raise some money. And on a skateboard, I'm not going to be able to go as far.
It goes miles, yeah.
Dude, there was 8 of us that made it 26 miles. We skated from my shop all the way to the Chippewa Skate Park, took a break, skated all the way back to the shop here, realized we were at 24, and we were like, all right, let's go do a couple more loops like around the area so we could say we did a marathon. And the coolest part was there was 2 11-year-old kids that did it.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
26 miles on a skateboard.
Yeah. I'm like, I know you got energy, but watching like they did that, got to feel good about doing something like for their community and push themselves like hard and obviously create a memory. And that happened only because I had this idea. I was being their role model because I was in front of them still going. They're like, yeah, we're going to do it too because you did it. We had stopped at the skate park in Chippewa and we were skating back and we ran into them right outside the skate park. And they're like, yeah, we stopped for ice cream. And I'm like, oh, cool. You guys made it all the way to the park. And they're like, well we're going to go all the way back too. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are bad. But watching that motivation and that like excitement, yeah, that was one of those moments for me where I'm like, this is so fucking sick. Like I need to find a way to make this type of thing happen way more than I have for sure. All right, so I'm like totally running out of pieces of wisdom because this is episode 17 and I just don't have that much cool shit to say. That's really like, you know.
You seem to do pretty good.
Well, you've listened to 6 episodes. This is 17. So I'm running out of like, it's like good advice. So I'm going to like lead you on with what is your piece of advice to leave for this episode?
Well, I'm going to go with kind of a theme off my shop with the adventure side of things and just kind of adventures in all of us. It's just a matter of you going out and finding it and being part of it.
Everybody needs to take more adventures. My piece of advice is try to do something that makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
It's way too easy for us to kind of get stuck in this like monotonous routine of what we do. Even the things that we love, even skateboarding for me, you know, if I do it all the time, you don't feel alive. You're just doing whatever. But find something that's like kind of scary to you, but it's something you've never done before and it's just going to wake you the fuck up.
Yeah, something that's going to challenge you.
That's what I'm saying. Like when I did the biking across the state, like realistically, it's not that hard to do that, especially 4 days. But very few people ever do something like that.
No, yeah,
you know?
that's something that most people, they think of that and they'll say, I'm never going to try something like that.
That's what I'm saying. But when we
step out and try it.
Yeah. Me and my wife were out. First day ended up being 75 miles because we took some bad turns, whatever. And it was like already dark out. And we had left at 7 a.m. when we were like trying to get to the hotel. And the only way to get there was on like pretty much the freeway, like on the highway. So it was totally dark and we were walking our bikes along the side of the highway and people are honking and zipping past us. Tell you what, I felt alive when I did.
I can only imagine.
And it was really cool. Like, you know, right away afterwards, I'm like, dude, when I have more available time to do something like this, as my kids get older or whatever, I'm trying to do things like this a whole lot more often. So yeah, that's my advice for somebody. Go find something that's going to wake you up, make you realize that life is happening. Don't fucking waste your days on this earth.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Passion Pod. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you soon.